Welcome to the K-Drama Show. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Kim.
We're here to unpack your all-time favorite Korean dramas and chat about all the reasons that we find these shows so charming.
And so addictive. And we know you do too, so settle in with some ramen and a boba tea while we dive into the K-Drama Show with Ashley and Kim. So, episode 4, we wrapped up with...
YeongJoon is out MiSo's house after fighting with his brother.
And he tells her, I want to love you.
And we kind of came to the agreement that it was his shell breaking.
Starting to be vulnerable with her.
Right.
Starting for him to realize that he himself is actually...
Like he needs her.
Like he actually cares about her, not just that he wants to keep her around as a secretary. So episode 5 kicks off the same place. I want to love you. Then he blames it on the book.
He blames it on the book. I think I have a confession masked in using the book that MiSo is reading. I was like,
I have written underneath that, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking it's this genuine moment, and then he's like, oh yeah, that's just something that came from your book you read, right?
Like, I can't believe that you read that and it got stuck in my head.
I know, exactly. The ramen is done.
The ramen is done.
Can we just say ramen plus egg plus kimchi is revolutionary?
It is a masterpiece.
It is so delicious.
It is amazing.
Whoever decided that was a combo,
you need a gold star.
You get an A+ in my book, buddy.
We want to be your friend.
Probably.
I do love that he had never had ramen before.
That's true. That seems so bizarre to me. That'd be kind of, I don't know, in my mind, like an American never having had a French fry ever in their life.
Well, because
it's just a common snack.
Right, because he makes the comment about, he's like, why would I put that much sodium like in my perfect body? And she's like, just shut up and take a bite. And he eats, takes a bite of the ramen, and he's like, oh.
He dumps the whole dish of kimchi into the bowl.
Well, because then she puts the kimchi on top, and she was like, you have to try this. And he's like, what is happening?
What is happening to my taste buds?
This
I
is
enjoy
amazing.
it. It's great. Okay, so shortly after she shoos him out the door, she hears another knock, thinks that maybe YeongJoon had left something in her apartment and came back for it, and it is her Ani, who immediately clocks that there are two bowls on the sink. Like she barely says hi, then goes, why are there 2 bowls on the sink?
Doesn't she tell her?
Yeah, it was the vice chairman.
He was here.
He had a bowl of ramyeon, and she goes, ramyeon? Ramyeon? Not jjajangmyeon, and not jampong, but ramyeon?
And you go from MiSo being completely like, why are you acting like this? Yeah. To YeongJoon is talking to Yushik, and he's like telling him, yeah, I had ramen at our house. And he's like,
ramyeon, huh?
What?
Hey, nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
And neither one of them know the
implications,
yeah,
around the whole meme of have Ramyeon and Go, Oppa.
Right. Or their version of Netflix and chill.
Exactly, yeah. I thought I had that written down in my episode 4 notes, but then I realized in episode 5 that they actually talked about it, so I thought that was funny. It's so funny how they're so naive about it, though.
It's adorable, almost. And that's when you know, like, they've just done nothing but work.
Yeah, they have no social lives whatsoever. They just
So why would they know? That's what's insinuated when...
Exactly, yep. MiSo and her Ani are sitting on the couch, and they're still going on about this whole ramen thing. And her sister is really running her through the ringer about this whole relationship. And she compares it to a dog-bird couple, which I don't know if you've ever watched Hwarang. You have? Okay. So Park Seo-joon's character in that show is named Dogbird. It is named Dogbird. I didn't know if that was supposed to be kind of like an nod? Easter egg to that, like a nod to that, or if it just happens to be some a common saying, or
Right.
I don't know enough about the culture to be able to speak to that, but I just thought that was kind of funny in my own mind.
Yes, I agree.
But again, she is really harping on MiSo about this whole relationship. You're an older sister. I'm a younger sister. I don't know about you, but I feel like let people just make their own relationship mistakes. The harder that you really try to push somebody in a direction, they're gonna dig their heels in.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Unless they're truly in danger. I mean, obviously, if it's an abusive situation, get them out of that. But if they want to do something dumb, I mean, you're not going to change their mind.
Dumb. Well, and actually what's interesting about that is, even though I am the older sister, my younger sister would always act like she was an uni and just be like, you shouldn't like this guy, you shouldn't like this guy
with her.
And like she would like go off and I'd be like, fine, I like him harder now, like come
So
at me, bro.
like, yes, I dig my heels in harder, thank you very much.
But at the same time, real life and K-drama, my sister was actually like, no, like this is a very like toxic person for you, whereas
she's just upset that he's rich, and
they think because they are, you know, in the, what are they, psychologists or in the psychological field, that they can armchair diagnose.
Oh, yeah.
And they know what they're talking about.
they do that a lot.
It's well, because isn't that when they talk about the necklace? And no, that was earlier, a couple episodes ago, and the necklace was a dog collar.
And then later on, they're going to talk about the popo.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, the fact that she clocked the ramen and was just like,
that was so funny to me, how she's always just analyzing everything about MiSo's life. But I think a lot of it is the guilt she feels for not having been able to be an older sister,
right,
in their early adult life, and that she just feels like now she has to watch out for her. But at this point, MiSo's grown up. So.
She's 29, dude. Like, don't be a big
It's too
sister.
late. It's too late.
Just quit.
Let her have her ramen.
Especially since neither one of them know what it means.
I know. They're too naive to even know, so why are you worried about it? Okay, so cut to another nightmare sequence, but interestingly enough, it's not YeongJoon, it's not MiSo, it is SeongYeon this time.
Yes.
That has a nightmare.
He does.
It's the same nightmare that YeongJoon is having, minus one key thing, and that's the woman in red with the red heels.
Yes.
It does not show her.
At all.
At all. It shows the room and it shows like the place that they were kept, but it doesn't show the woman. So you're wondering, did he have a different experience than YeongJoon that is causing his dream to be
and it's
different?
also, there is no other person in the shared memory. Yeah. Even with the woman, like there's no face.
Yeah, it's just him in the room being afraid. In the morning, YeongJoon gives MiSo a ride to work. He's just chilling outside her house.
Yes. And as she's walking to him, she trips.
Okay, I have a note in here. As I was watching this scene, they show her heels, and I thought, how is she always running in heels and never stumbling? And then as I was thinking that, she literally trips into him, and I thought, well, there you go.
Yep. Yes. She not just trips, but she falls directly into his arms.
Oh, yes.
And he's just like, okay. Hey, how's it going?
No, when she falls into his arms, though, he goes, there's no need for that. In the morning. I thought that was cute. So she kind of gets herself gathered.
He comments on her clothes.
He does.
And
yeah. I wanted your take on this, because you're the fashionista, and I'm the one in a t-shirt and ripped jeans right now.
I'm wearing leggings and a sweater.
Okay, but normally on a good day, you'd be in like in a blazer and
I like to be extra. But because then it gets brought up later in the episode of like, he goes, you wore that Wednesday and Friday of last week. And then later in the office, her coworkers were like, yeah, you wore that last Wednesday and Friday, and you had a different shirt that you wore Tuesday and Thursday. But it was just like,
who pays that much attention?
Maybe she has the 10 suits too.
Apparently, yeah. What the heck? How come the guy gets away with it, and he literally has the same food on his shirt 2 days in a row, and everyone's like, no, he definitely has 10 suits.
But I think that was maybe him just in a very awkward, weird way, like picking up on like her habits and being like,
okay, yeah,
you know,
I could see that.
I see that you're wearing this one again. That means it's, you know, whatever day of the week almost. But then he also makes the comment of like, he's like, people are gonna think that that's like the uniform.
The uniform for work.
And she was just like, excuse you.
He's basically going all gentleman on her.
He is.
She has no idea what to do with it.
Because he opens the door.
Yeah.
He brings her breakfast and like gave her like a coffee drink, and then like
staring her down like, why aren't you enjoying it, woman?
Well, because then he was just like, we can go. And he's like, no, like you need to enjoy this. And she's like, oh, we aren't leaving until I've made an effort.
And so she's just like, okay, I'll oblige. And they get to work. He lets her get into the elevator first.
He's trying very hard.
She stands behind him, and he realizes it, and he goes, no, we should stand next to each other. I thought that was kind of an interesting note, because, I mean, that is true. If you're standing next to someone, usually signifies that you're
together.
Yeah, and maybe, I mean, not like romantically necessarily, but you're acknowledging that you're on the same level.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting.
But it was just sweet, because he was just like, no, like, we are on the same level.
Yeah.
We have to be.
Because I want to love you.
Because I want to love you.
A lot.
But then when they get into the office, you know, everybody stands up, you know, the vice chairman is coming, and he walks by and he goes, "Good morning." And they're just like, are we getting fired? Like, what is happening?
But he's changing. He's actually changing. Because it's not like he's doing this to manipulate her.
Right.
It's just, this is the way he wants to present himself. Acknowledging other people because they're important to her. Right. In a way. Because these are her coworkers, her colleagues, people that she interacts with. So he's making the extra effort to acknowledge them.
Yeah.
In a way of showing appreciation for her.
Right. Like, I'm wanting you to know how much you mean to me.
Yeah. Even
if it's just...
Yeah, because these people you hang out with, they're not below me either if you're going to, you know... Yeah. Kind of thing.
But yeah, I loved that their reactions, they were just like...
We don't know what to do. Are we all getting fired today? Like, or is company closing down?
Are we going bankrupt?
So then she's... bringing him some papers in his office, or fixing some papers in his office.
Well, and she's bringing in more first aid stuff for his lip.
Right, for his lip. And then she starts to tidy the office. Mm-hmm. And can we just talk about the dual overreaction to a dang paper cut?
Oh my.
What in the world?
Goodness.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Paper cuts, they're terrible.
They're horrid.
But she was practically crying over the thing, and then he's acting like he's gonna, you know...
Like her arm's about to be cut off.
Go to war for her in order to make sure no more paper ever touches this woman's body again.
I need to get tablets so that way you don't get a paper cut.
Paper is dangerous.
Like, oh. But that's such a thing in K-drama anyway, is there has to be a mutual, quote-unquote, injury and above and beyond... Because then he like makes her sit down, and he like is like...
He puts the medicine on her hand, and I'm like, you can't even see anything. Anyway, maybe I'm getting too worked up about the reaction to the paper cut, but man, they sure got excited. We go back to the house. YeongJoon's father is asking SeongYeon to reconcile because it upsets their mother so much. Mm-hmm. And I also like, though, that he was taking into consideration the fact that if YeongJoon is off of his game and not making this event happen the way that it needs to, that puts other people's livelihoods at stake.
Right. And there's all of the employees and their families.
Right. Yeah. They'll suffer if we suffer, so we have to make sure we're always on our A game. And I just thought that was a really interesting take on, like, the Chaebol and the chairman side of things, because a lot of times they're the ones who are, like... down with the peasants, you know what I mean? And they don't care. They're using them as a stepping stone, and they really want to put that divide between the upper and the lower class. But I just thought that was very cool that was his take on it.
Him taking pride in the fact of, like, look how much we provide.
Yeah. And responsibility, though.
And yeah.
So we cut back to the office. MiSo has a guest in the lobby. And I just thought this was kind of funny because she's usually so intuitive and so aware of
everything that's going on.
Everything, yeah.
Constantly. Because that's her
job.
Yeah, she has
to. In a nutshell, is to anticipate. And she just can't put together the fact that this guy is somehow important to
the company.
He keeps showing up. He reveals who he is.
Yeah, SeongYeon, but he also is even like... He's enjoying the game.
Oh, yeah. He is such a player.
He's a total playboy.
So used to getting what he wants that he enjoys the chase.
She's like, dude, I can't do this. I don't have time for this. You need to figure it out. Move on. And then that's when he's like, what if I told you that I'm also Morpheus? And she was suddenly
she's
just
like, you invited me here or whatever. Yeah. And she thinks about it. She's like, oh, you're the author.
And so that's, you know that he does that for fun.
Oh, yeah, 100%. He came from France. I mean,
right.
Come on. They go to dinner. He immediately clocks the flowers, which is sort of the juxtaposition of YeongJoon, who is oblivious to the fact that she's allergic to flowers. And he clocks it in the first 3 minutes of their dinner. Right,
they sit down and she's just, like, blinking and trying not to die. And he's like, hey, can we get that taken care of, please? And then she has this sudden, like, maybe you're not so bad. You know, look at you. You notice this and...
But here's how I feel about it. He knows women. Yes. He reads them like a book, pun sort of intended. But he knows the inner workings of how, like, women perceive romance, which is why he's such a good author.
A romance author as well.
So I don't think he has the same sincerity that YeongJoon has, because YeongJoon has 0 experience, but he is trying. I mean, that man is bending over backwards, moving mountains for this woman. But SeongYeon just walks in, and in 5 minutes, he's like...
Oh, I could tell.
Being suave. Yeah, exactly.
I noticed it.
But not only that, but he knows that MiSo matters to YeongJoon, and that's why he's doubling down on this at this point. He initially thought she was cute, but now he's just...
Right, and MiSo has no idea because she also does not understand that there's inner workings of romance.
Well, she doesn't know he's his brother yet either.
True. But regardless, she's just like, she doesn't know that, and so for her to...
She's just as naive.
Right, and so she's like, wow, he's so kind, and he's so nice, and wow, why can't I find something like this? And like, no, he
plays the game. He's good at it.
Yeah. And you don't know that there's rules.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's so unfair.
So YeongJoon is eating with Yushik, and he gets this look on his face, and he goes, oh, I chewed a stone. So he has this bad meal experience, and so Yushik gets ready to, like, go to war for him with the kitchen staff. Mm-hmm. And he goes, no, it's fine. And Yushik starts to realize, like, the effect that MiSo is having on him. He's actually changing. Even when he's not in front of her, he's still growing as a person.
Yes.
So I thought that was kind of sweet. But he's planning his confession, and it won't be any ordinary confession.
No, it will not.
So he's trying to figure out how to confess in a way that she would appreciate by finding things that ordinary people like.
Yes.
And he's trying to approach each of the secretaries in different ways to be like, where would you like to go?
He's like, I have a question. You know, where's a good place to have like a serious conversation?
Right. And the one, he's like, go to the intestine place.
Yes. Oh, it's like the office manager person.
Yep.
Oh,
I can't think of his name right now.
But yeah, he's talking about cutting up these intestines and grilling them over this and put them with this. And then if you have a little shot with this, and he's like, it just...
So good. Like, and then he's like, that sounds terrible. And he goes, go to the place with the hearts and the livers. And he goes, I'm done here.
And frankly, I'm with YeongJoon on that. Like, nah.
Yeah,
I don't. No.
Maybe if that were like your comfort food and you knew she liked it, that's one thing. But I'm not. That's not first date material. You're going to burp up liver in your date's face. Nah.
Also, that just doesn't even sound appetizing.
No.
So, for that reason, I'm out.
Probably. So he also goes to talk to Yushik again. Mm-hmm. And he's not there. And the secretary, she's so bad.
She is the worst
YeongJoon goes, is he here? She goes, yes. He looks in the office and he goes, he's not here. And she goes, oh, well, where is he?
He's like, I'm asking you.
Isn't that your job?
She's slightly chaotic. But then also, I had mentioned earlier how there were comments on MiSo's clothes. And because of that, she decides to go shopping because she's like, wow, do I really look like that? Like, is that really the image that I am presenting? Because she does take pride in how she looks, and before she goes shopping, YeongJoon manages to ask her out for wine because that's how he's gonna make his confession. He's like, I want to take you to this place.
Well, she's like, I'll make a reservation. He goes, no, I have it handled, and all these things. So
it was very sweet.
It was,
because he's like, no, like I want to do this. I can do this. And she just is like, wait, oh, okay, I guess. So then she goes shopping, and I have to say, I wasn't the biggest fan of her dress.
I wasn't that impressed with the shape of it. The color was nice.
See, I didn't like the color.
Oh, really? That's funny.
I think it should have been a deeper yellow.
I could see that. It was a little washing out on her.
So it needed to have a little more richness behind it. I didn't mind
Could have been the
cut.
Cameras, too.
Then there's that.
It just didn't scream wow to me, but then again, maybe it wasn't meant to.
True.
Because of the awkwardness of what happens after the fact. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not that fashion-minded. Oh, but right before, I think we forgot to add that the rice was still there on day 3. And the button fell off.
Yes!
And Jia saw it.
And Jia's like, no,
and
there's
so
something
she's
going
like,
on.
People will finally believe me when I say it's the same suit. Mm-hmm. Because on day 3, the button came off. And when he shows up tomorrow, you'll all know that I was not crazy. Mm-hmm. And then that's when the outfit repeater thing comes up and MiSo goes shopping.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So MiSo, while she is on her way to her date, not a date, gets a phone call from SeongYeon, and he is asking her if she could meet briefly about the book concert.
Right.
And she says, sure, I'm on my way to the M Lounge. You can meet me right outside.
Right. I don't have very much time, so it has to be quick.
Yep. But you just know that it means trouble because
of course.
It's going to be drama. So the ordinary confession starts out with a bottle of Dom,
Casual.
Then anywhere from $300 to $1,000 a bottle. Like, come on. You know how much rent I could pay with that?
Yeah.
Not enough, but enough.
Which rent I could pay with that? It's starting out to be pretty extravagant.
For ordinary, but for him it is ordinary. He's
Yes.
really made an effort to make it something that she would appreciate.
It's toned down.
Yeah, for sure.
Significantly.
For sure. So SeongYeon shows up, and I did not like the way that he just so casually was like, you look so pretty.
Yes.
It just kind of rolled off his tongue like it's something he
being
said
suave.
a bajillion times.
Mhm.
Whereas YeongJoon's like, has anyone ever told you that you're pretty? She goes, no.
Yeah.
That's because I've never thought it before.
Right.
Because it means something to him.
Right. It's a intentionality behind it.
Yep.
Yeah, SeongYeon's just obnoxious, frankly, at this point.
He's just a little too cool. And maybe we've just been around the block too many times to,
That could
to be
be true.
fooled by his suaveness. But then again, if it were us in the same situation, I'd probably just be like, drool down the corner of my mouth and I'd have no clue what was going on. So YeongJoon comes outside, and anytime his brother is around, the ugliness just rears its head.
It does.
MiSo brings out the best, SeongYeon brings out the worst, and this is just not the best time.
Well, and it's very unfair because MiSo has no idea what's going on.
But YeongJoon won't tell her either.
Right. So that's why it's unfair of, she doesn't realize that she is a pawn, especially for SeongYeon. She is a pawn. And for YeongJoon, he's like, no, like, I need you to be protected from this.
Yeah.
And no, I don't want to tell you, because then if I have to tell you, I don't know if you'll be able to look at me the same, and I can't lose you.
Yeah.
So then that brings out the ugly, and he's just like...
He doesn't know how to cope with the idea of losing her, especially to his brother. And so MiSo is very taken aback by the way that he treats SeongYeon. Because, again, she doesn't know that they're related. She doesn't know the history there, like you said. And she essentially wants to call off the evening and said, if it's not important, can it wait? And he goes, sure, it wasn't important anyway. And the look of betrayal on her face, it was really sad.
It was really sad. But at the same time, he didn't want it to be tainted.
Right.
So, like, you get it.
But, like, it was, again, the one step forward, two steps back.
Yes.
He's pulling away again because he sees that there may be some chemistry on that side. So he's thinking, if I put my wall back up, then they can't hurt me.
Right.
But can't see it, it's not there.
That's not how that works, friend. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, she's very, very sad.
Yeah, because she's opening herself up to the idea, and I think this was kind of, her showing her vulnerability by showing up that evening, and it got squashed. So YeongJoon goes to see SeongYeon. SeongYeon kind of toys with him a little bit. Like, he's waving this in front of his nose, like, see what I have again that you can't have.
Yeah.
It was an interesting way that they depicted him, because they kind of showed him as being, the really charismatic guy. And he still is being that, but it's in a more, I don't know if sinister is the right word.
Vindictive.
Yeah. He's just playing with him. But YeongJoon is still being YeongJoon.
Yes.
And still being very earnest. Like, he has not changed his tune. The way he treats him in front of MiSo is the same way he treats him at home. The way that SeongYeon treats YeongJoon in front of MiSo versus the way he treats him at home.
Very different.
It's different.
Very,
because
very
he's
different.
playing the game. So YeongJoon is really, really wanting to reach out to MiSo, but he feels slightly betrayed by her reaction, I think.
Which is just that miscommunication and the unwillingness to communicate on both ends.
Cut back to the office the next day. Gossip Man, Secretary Jeong. Guess what I just heard?
Yes.
Kim MiSo. Did you know? Gossip Man, Secretary Jeong had heard that the book concert was a go with Morpheus.
Yes.
And they were releasing it to the press. And she is pissed because he made a whole thing about it last night saying, no, don't do it. We're canceling it.
Yes.
I can't stand him. And then goes ahead and does it anyway. So she's thinking that he's just trying to make her look foolish. And now here he is, you know, releasing press surrounding this whole thing without talking to her.
Because, yeah, then she comes into the office and tells him, I thought that you were being sincere about your feelings and, like, you know, the actions that were being taken here. But now, don't sway me.
Yeah.
I don't want you to. The look on his face is just like,
I'm just trying to make you happy.
right, because that's when he started to realize, like, wait,
am I swaying you?
like, I'm swaying you? I'm sorry. You want me to? Like, because then he started to have, like, that realization of there's something happening.
Yeah, it's not just one-sided anymore. So back to the office chillins, I don't know.
The rest of the clan.
So Gia and Sarah, they're talking about the button that's fallen off of GwiNam's jacket.
Yes.
And he just, like, pops up out of nowhere like a little gopher and goes, don't spread rumors.
And they're like, okay, well then prove it. Like, let me see all your buttons.
And he does.
And he just, like, it's like he's rehearsed this.
And he has a little spare in the pocket.
Yeah, he's like, I have this one. Here.
All 4 on each of my sleeves.
And look at my spare. And they're just like,
okay,
what just happened?
You are a bit much. But it's so funny because Sarah's always like, haha, you're so funny, marry me.
Yes.
But Gia is so irritated with him. She's like, I know you're lying. There's no way that this is not, I'm not crazy.
But at the same time, she's like, but I also really don't care at all about you.
I'm just trying to survive here.
I'm also trying to just, you know, help you not get embarrassed.
Yeah, because she really wanted to give it to him secretly so that he wouldn't get caught in his act if that were the case.
Right, and she's trying so hard truly just to be nice.
So YeongJoon is trying to figure out what the heck to do with MiSo at this point. Cue
cold shoulder.
Major passive aggression. I mean, it is major. He's trying to tell her, I have a headache. And so she just picks up the phone and calls his doctor. And he goes, it's not that bad. She goes, never mind. And then he messes up his necktie. And when she comes into the office and says, my necktie seems to be, you know, messed up. And she just turns around and walks out. She doesn't even say anything to him.
It's almost just like, that's your problem.
Exactly. I'm not getting that close to you. Which just goes to show that the whole necktie thing has sort of evolved into a bit more than just the boss employee.
She's the only one that can do it. Yeah.
A bit after that is when Secretary Jeong then tells her,
reveals.
Guess what I heard?
Morpheus is SeongYeon. And that's when she's like,
she says he's his brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where she finds out that they're brothers.
And that's when she's just like, so that's why he was mad.
None of this had to actually do with me so much as it's just...
This is the family and they don't have a good relationship. And that's when she's just like, well,
I feel silly.
I messed up.
The thing that I liked though is when YeongJoon goes to talk to Yushik in his office later. He's saying he wants to, is there a way to repair this relationship of my college's or my cousin's college roommate? Something like that, yeah. And is there any way to repair a relationship without apologizing? And Yushik is like, no, you have to. And so he's saying he wants to.
He's like, when he was saying, yeah, you have to apologize. And he just is like, but I don't know how.
Exactly.
I've never apologized before, so I don't know how.
It doesn't just roll off the tongue.
It's not easy for me.
Yeah.
And that's when, I mean, I'm already half in love with the guy anyway. But that's just one of those moments where you're just like, okay, yeah, that's
personal growth.
Yeah, look at you growing and changing and being sincere in the fact that, like, you don't want to come across as this cold, heartless dictator of a company, especially to MiSo. And so that just it kind of breaks your heart a little bit because he's just like, I don't know how.
Yeah, he looked really small in that moment.
But you just want to hug him and be like, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, exactly. But at this point, they're both wanting to admit their wrongs and reconcile with the other person, not knowing the other person
also wants to
reconcile. And so my note said, yay, healthy-ish step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Communication is key, people.
It is.
So at that point, they are now working through the night because neither of them got anything done because they were both stressed about the drama there.
And they've apologized to the other person. They're just like I'm sorry for how I acted towards you. Hey, great, yeah, me too.
And then there's this moment where there's just a stare down. And MiSo's starting to squirm in her chair a little bit. She goes, do you want some coffee? He goes, it's right there. She goes, oh. Should we open a window? It's a bit hot in here. And he goes, the window's already open. And so he just goes, I want to sway you, Kim MiSo.
My note says swoon.
That was such a line, though, for not being a romantic guy. That was a line.
Well, and that was him saying, you told me not to sway you. That's what I want to do, is I want to sway you. I'm like, I'm sorry, if if that man is standing in front of me and says, I want to sway you, dude, done. You're there.
Swayed. Swung. Swived. Gone.
All of the things. It has happened.
It's been done.
But that was a genuine thing too. It wasn't.
It wasn't just a line. It was him saying, I want
this.
Cue the blockbuster curse. But they start to get closer and closer.
As they have been.
Out of nowhere, he just shoves her across the room.
Yes.
And then the song.
Yes.
Wanna be your girlfriend, yeah. Do, 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 do.
But then this little look on her face as she's rolling away, and they're
I know
half puckered, and she's like,
at first it's shock, and then it's just, I hate my life.
And well, I'm gonna yeet myself up now.
Okay, my question is, how do you recover from that? Do you recover from that? Do you give a guy a second chance if he does that to you? After he just said, I want to sway you, then he pushes you across the room. What would you do?
I think I'd
take a long vacation.
I'd be like, I'd probably stare at them and be like, I'm sorry, I'm leaving.
Which is essentially what happens later on. But we'll get into the next episode.
Next episode, yeah. I think because we already know the next episode, and a lot more information is presented.
Yeah.
But I do think in that moment I would kept my back turned and been like,
I'll see you in a week.
I'm gonna go.
So that wraps up episode 5.
That is the end of episode 5.
Did you like it?
I mean, yes, because there's a lot more romance happening.
There is a lot more romance.
I like
They're
the
finally
romance.
getting to the meat and potatoes of it.
Yes, but also I like that there's actual information.
Yeah.
So
we're uncovering things.
Right. So whether or not you understand a reaction to something.
Yeah. We're gaining context.
Yes, there's all the context, and I mean, always it takes time to get through a show and be like, okay, yeah, this is why they're acting a certain way.
Right.
But I do enjoy I enjoy the rewatch, especially of being like, wow, how come I didn't notice that you were this annoying ahead of time?
Yeah.
But also loving it.
It's good. Who is your character of the hour?
Oh, I don't know.
Mine was Secretary Jeong.
Okay.
Because when YeongJoon was going around the office trying to find recommendations, they're all giving just terrible ideas. And he goes, this restaurant in GwiNam and this restaurant here, those are very famous places. And they were like perfect date areas too. And he was like,
he just walked away from him.
He didn't even bother to ask him because he's like, you clearly wouldn't know. The poor guy. He's like, he's one of the true romantics in the office. I felt like I thought it was really sweet. That
is very sweet.
Yeah.
I think mine is Yushik, just of being there for YeongJoon and just being like, especially when they're in the restaurant and he has the food that has the rock and he's like, let's go to fight, and he's like, no, it's okay, and he just is like, all right, so this is how we're gonna go about this now. Like, still giving advice and or being there for him and like being like, okay, when you're at a girl's house and she asks if you want to have Ramen and Go.
Yeah.
Like he's being the true friend, and it's just like, okay, we're gonna break this down.
I know. He's such a good friend.
He's the best friend.
All right, that wraps up episode 5. Like what you're hearing? Go ahead and hit that follow button so that you don't miss out on any new episodes. Thanks for listening to the K-Drama Show with Ashley and Kim. We'll see you next time.